With Overwatch 2 Season 8 dropping a few days ago, we got a slew of new balance changes, and we actually got a brand new tank hero, Mauga, actually being added to the game. So the game, at least balance-wise and hero-wise, has been shaken up, so it's time for another ranked tier list. Before I hop into this, keep in mind it's going to be a tier list for your solo queue, lower to mid-tier ranks, from anywhere from like mid-tier silver all the way up to like mid-tier platinum. This is not going to be for your top 500 or your master or your GM games at all. Just keep that in mind. There's also mainly a tier list. I'm a console player. I don't know if it really matters, console PC, but just want to throw that out there anyways. And then I'm mainly a tank player. I'm a tank main, so the main thing I play is tank. So kind of depending on this list, like I said, this list is 100% opinionated, so if there's stuff I do not talk about, or if you guys do not agree with me on something, let me know in the comments down below. But this is going to be more of a tank player bias tier list, because I play tank like 98% of the time, so that in mind, also watch the entire video, because I had some people last time that clearly just skipped to the end of the video, and then they went in the comments and they started typing stuff, and they made themselves look really dumb. So watch the entire video before you guys do comment. I'd really appreciate it as well. Because, people go into the comments and then they ask something, and then I can clearly explain it in the video, or I talked about it in the video, and they obviously didn't watch the video. So that being said, if you guys like the videos, leave a like, subscribe, share the video. I also have channel members now enabled, so if you guys would like to become a channel VIP, join button down below right beside the subscribe button. There's also a link in the description if it doesn't show up for you. So really helps out the channel, and you guys have a lot of cool stuff, cool perks and stuff with that as well. So apart from that, let's hop right into this. I'll throw the list on screen for you guys right now. We got SS tier. This is the nerf ASAP tier. This is the stuff that you're going to be picking to win the majority of your games. It's the stuff that either got giga buffed for no reason, or needs major nerfs to bring it in line with a lot of the other heroes in the game. Where you want the game to be is pretty much A tier. You want the game to be around A tier, and you want the game to be based off of not having to fucking counter swap and counter pick the enemy team. That's what you really want the game to be. Granted, it'll never be that way because we have to go back to 6v6, which they'll never do. So keeping in mind that they'll probably never revert the game back to 6v6, or at least not anytime soon, even though that's what they should do. That's kind of the main thing you want out of the balance for the game. So we're going to kind of be going based off that as well. S tier is the best of the best stuff. This is the stuff that doesn't really need any nerfs, but like if anything else, like the stuff in SS tier gets nerfed, or if anything else like hero-wise gets changed, they have a chance of rising up and probably being some of the best stuff in the game, and then they'll need changes. S tier is like the best stuff you're going to be picking. Pretty much no drawbacks, just crazy good stuff. A tier is average, B is below average, C is more situational. D tier is borderline useless, apart from maybe a few specific comps or on a few specific maps. Or unless you're just like an absolute god at them, you can make them work. And then F tier is your garbage tier. Spoiler alert, I don't think I'm going to put actually in like anything in F tier for this patch. Wrecking Ball is supposed to be getting reworked, which is actually going to be like a Season 12. He's supposed to be getting actually reworked, which I actually learned earlier today, at least when I'm recording this. So normally I'd put Wrecking Ball in F tier, but I think in your lower to mid tiers of rank, you can maybe use them now and actually get away with them. Let's talk about the newest tank, Mauga. If you guys don't know, go look at the patch notes. I'm putting him right in an SS nerf ASAP tier. Pretty much, I'm not going to really talk about him very much, but they took the guy. They said he needed buffs because they let everybody play him. If you guys remember, like at the start of Season 7, or like around Season 7, they had Mauga in the game. I think it was around BlizzCon, actually. It's not really Season 7, but like mid-Season 7. They had him in the game for about 3 days. They let people play him. People said he was really weak in the data on their end, at least what they say, quote-unquote data. I don't know how much you can actually believe out of it, because I think the main reason why they giga buff the new hero every fucking patch, they add a new hero to the game, is to sell battle passes, which is the main reason why he got giga buffed. But they said he was weak, and they absolutely just giga buffed the shit out of him. I'm not going to go through every single balance change that they did to him, but pretty much every single aspect of his kit, including his passive, got buffed in some type of way, and he never got like any nerfs. He just got giga buffed across the board. Mauga right now is probably the best pub stomp tank in the entire game. He's not ranked yet right now, but just judging from how easy it is to just fucking roll lobbies with him, it is just crazy. He's pretty much unkillable. The guy is unkillable. There are only a few things in the game that actually check him, and that is on a sleep dart, and that is on a nade, which you can actually use to try to make him so he doesn't get healed, and then dive on him and try to kill him that way. And there's a limited amount of other stuff, at least like CC-wise in the game, that you can maybe use to try to kill him. And even then, during his movement ability, he's not affected by CC anymore, pretty much by anything. So I guess maybe the only other options are maybe trying to hack him when he's not in his movement ability, or even like throwing a Discord orb on him. And even then, he has so much life steal where he can kind of just heal through a lot of the damage. Pretty much almost all the damage that's thrown at him anyways. He's just crazy. The real thing with Mauga is the reason why they Giga buffed him is because they want to sell battle passes. That's not where they're going to sit and tell all the player base, and that's not what they're going to say. They're going to say it's based off the data we got and the feedback we had when he was in the game for the 3 days around BlizzCon. People said he was really weak. Does that mean he needs to be Giga buffed with every single thing about him being Giga buffed to the point where he's busted? I don't think so. The real reason why they Giga buffed Mauga is to sell battle passes. F you, Blizzard, you guys are just taking advantage of the players. You don't care about the integrity of your game. You don't care about the fun of your game. You just want to make money, and you want to pretty much just ruin the entire game to make an extra cent. Don't know about you guys too, but I feel like this entire season is just a filler season. Everybody's just waiting until Season 9 when they actually have the ranked overhaul and a bunch of other stuff. Season 8 feels like a huge just filler season. Yeah, there is legit nothing in this season that actually, like, piques interest for anything. Even that we got Mauga. Mauga's not fun to play against. He might be fun to play, but man is he fucking AIDS to play against. He is one of the most AIDS tank champions I think they've added. And the reason why is just because they Giga buffed him. He would have been decent if they just would have added him to the game how he was before. I don't think he wouldn't have been bad or like crazy good. He would probably have been balanced. But they went and Giga buffed him and they made him absolutely AIDS to play against. Shame on you, Blizzard. Shame on you. And if you don't agree with me, then you're absolutely delusional. I don't know how there's any argument against Mauga being Giga buffed, and the reason why he's Giga buffed is to sell battle passes. I have no idea. There's no reason they need to buff him as much as they did. Moira's going to A tier average. A lot better in your mid to lower tier rank just because you're a lot more survivable. But if you're just playing damage Moira the entire game, you're throwing your match. So, not going to talk about her much more because nothing would really change that much. Junkrat A tier. Mainly better versus the teams that are constantly grouping up or the tanks that just eat a shit ton of damage. Funny enough, Junkrat's actually decent into Mauga if he never got Giga buffed because he just heals all the damage away from you now anyways. Junkrat used to be really good into Mauga when he was first tested, when we got to test him for 3 days in game. But now on patch Mauga, Season 8 Mauga, after he got Giga buffed, it doesn't matter how much damage you're doing to him because he just gets healed back anyways instantly from his passive. So you can throw your entire kit into the guy and he'll still live and he'll kill you, so it doesn't matter. He has a limited amount of things in the game that actually stop him from doing stuff, unless your entire team just dog piles on the guy, and then that's maybe one way you can kill him. But try doing that in your solo queue lobbies. You're not going to do that ever. Kiriko SS tier. They buffed Kiriko, guys, and you want to know the reason why they buffed Kiriko? She is one of the top selling skin heroes in the entire game since she's been released at the start of Overwatch 2. And she is also another champion that actually, or not a champion, a hero that actually enables Mauga. Because one of the main checks to Mauga is anti-nade, and being able to cleanse the anti-nade and make it feel better for the people and incentivize people to buy the battle pass for Mauga because he's a Giga buffed on pretty much insta-win pick type tank. Then they buff Kiriko to go alongside that because that's the best thing to enable Mauga. There you go. I do think Kiriko is really fun though. They buffed her healing, the speed on her healing, and then they buffed her. They nerfed the duration of her cleanse, the time where she's stuff's immune to damage and stuff. But then they also gave her an extra burst heal. So you're gonna see a lot more damage Kiriko as well, or aggressive Kiriko players. I still think she's probably one of the best healers in the game. I don't think she's like the single best healer in the game. I still think there are two other supports, which we'll just talk about right now. I'll throw Ana up in S tier, and then where's Baptiste at? Baptiste going right up into S tier too. I think he's down here some. Right here he is. Throw them all up into S tier. These are the three best supports in the entire game right now, y'all. Kiriko, Ana, and Baptiste are the three best supports. I guess Life Weaver. I forgot about Life Weaver. Four best supports in the game right now. Ana has Sleep Dart, crazy good, and then you have the Anti-Nade. Ana will never be below an SS tier, at like nerf type tier, until Anti-Nade gets reworked. It is absolute just cancer to the game. Anti-Nade is cancer to the game. I don't know how they still have it in the game. I don't know how it has never really been nerfed. It is AIDS. It is so AIDS, especially being a tank player and being someone that plays tank the majority of time. It's AIDS. Baptiste, while they nerfed his ammo, they nerfed it from 40 down to 37. I think it was either 40 or 43 down to 37. Still does nothing. If supports are able to duel the DPS players and 1v1 some of the tank players, there is a major problem with the game. Baptiste has so much healing and so much survivability to the point where you can 1v1 some of the tanks in the game as a support. If that is the case with any game, you know there's a huge fucking bad problem with the balancing, and Baptiste is still probably one of the best supports in the game. I think these are the four supports you're going to see in every single one of your matches, and these are the four supports that are going to instantly win you games just by playing them. And then you have Life Weaver. The main thing with Life Weaver is his life grip's so busted. I think his damage is in a decent spot, his healing's in a decent spot now after they nerfed it for Season 7. I think the main thing about him that still makes him busted is his life grip. Being able to pull somebody out of like a Roadhog hook, or even like an ult, and it's completely denying that is absolutely fucking busted. And with how short of a cooldown and how good of ability it actually is, it's just so OP. They need to like, I think probably even need to like double the cooldown. I would actually put Life Grip on like a 45 to even like a 50-second cooldown with how good it is. I really would. Now that's like an ultimate, ultimate even type charge cooldown for some of the heroes in the game, but with how good the Life Grip is and how game breaking it actually is, like playmaking it is, it's crazy. That's the reason why you pick him too. And then he also has crazy heals. His ult's still incredibly good as well. People are learning how to play against his ult a little bit more than Tree of Life, but with how much healing it does, it's still probably one of the best ults in the game. What else we got? We have Torb. Torb's going to C tier. Torb is situational. They buffed his health. I think they gave him 100 extra armor for this update. But the problem with Torb is he needs his power shifted back to his turret. They tried to give him power shift, and they tried to shift it onto the hero instead of onto his turret like it used to be. They need to revert whatever they tried to change at the start of Overwatch 2 because he's not really that good. And there's really no reason to play him now because they buffed Tracer and then they buffed a lot of the other stuff that just shits all over him. Same with a lot of the tanks. Like, what does Torbjorn do to any of the tanks that are going to be good on this list? Just doesn't really do anything. He's dove way too easy. Doomfist going right up into SS tier. They buffed Doomfist. They gave him so... Pretty much what they did is they took his ult and they allowed you to heal in midair with his ult during the duration of his ult. So now instead of actually needing to learn how to actually play with your ult, you can just use your ult and just AFK heal without your team and then just drop onto somebody and kill him that way. So they're taking away even more skill from Doomfist and making him more brain dead. Crazy good. Doomfist is probably one of the best tanks in the game. There's a few other tanks in the game that are also really good. I think still the best tank in the game right beside Mauga is probably Orisa, which we'll talk about next. I'll throw her right up beside Mauga. Doomfist is crazy. But Doomfist doesn't really even take skill. All you need to do with Doomfist is just click buttons. As long as you're constantly clicking buttons, you're doing something, and you're going to win your game, pretty much. Unless they counter pick you, or they pick like a support that shuts you down, or they try to counter pick you. Then we got Orisa. Orisa is probably the most brain dead tank in the game, and I call Orisa pretty much the insta-win button. If you are getting absolutely just fucking bent over and shit on backwards and getting destroyed by the enemy team's tank or their team, and you are losing the game, and you want to instantly bring back the game, you switch to Orisa. Orisa is called the pretty much insta-win, like, crutch tank. Whatever you're doing, if you're getting just absolutely screwed, you switch to Orisa, And unless the enemy team tank switches, they get fucked and they just get shit on by you. Or if the enemy team's DPS or supports don't switch, they can't do anything to you. And what it pretty much does is it pretty much guarantees that the enemy team needs to switch to be able to check you. And if nobody on the enemy team wants to switch, you pretty much guaranteed instantly win from that point onward. Orisa is one of the only tanks in the game, probably the only tank in the game apart from like Mauga. But Mauga's going to probably get nerfed, hopefully. I don't think Orisa will. Orisa is probably the only tank in the game, at least in like your lower to mid tiers, where if you just switch to her after getting just screwed like 90% of the game, you can still win the game in like the last half of the match. If nobody switches on the enemy team with just how fucking busted she is. She's unkillable, her damage numbers are crazy. Her ult usually guarantees like at least 1 kill most of the time. Usually on the support players, or whatever doesn't have mobility on the enemy team. He's crazy. I absolutely fucking hate Orisa. I hate her. She's a tank that forces you to fucking counterplay and counterpick unless you want to just automatically lose. And if that is a thing that is actually in the game, you know there's a huge problem balance-wise. If there is a single hero in the game that forces you to off of your own hero that you're playing. And if you don't switch, you automatically lose. Orisa is that type of hero. Absolute fucking cancer AIDS tank. I fucking hate her. And the funny thing is she actually got a mythic skin for this update, so you'll be seeing a lot of Orisa in your games because she got a brand new mythic skin on the Battle Pass. Granted, it's garbage, the skin sucks. It's not, I wouldn't even call it a mythic skin, but people are going to be using it, so you'll be seeing her a lot more. Mei got a little bit of a nerf. I still think Mei is really, really good. I'm putting her in S tier. She's still incredibly good. All you need to do with Mei is just run at people, and then when you get low health, you go into an ice block and you run away. And if they still try to dive on you, you throw a wall in their face and you block them off from you. By that time, you usually have supports that are at least going to try to heal you. Brain dead. She doesn't really take much skill. Soldier 76, they nerfed him. I still think he's incredibly good. I think the only reason Soldier is not an SS tier for this patch is because they buffed a lot more the more like flanky dive heroes that kind of screw with him. Apart from that, I'd probably put him in SS tier again. They did nerf his healing, the cooldown on his healing station, but I still don't think that's enough with how easy it is to play. He's still so his brain dead, takes no skill to play. Especially with his ult. His ult's pretty much auto-aim. You don't need to do anything, just look at the screen and click a button. Mercy S tier, still incredibly good. A little bit more reliant on your team. If your team's garbage, you can't really solo carry a game as much, but I've still seen Mercies that have garbage teams, and they'll just switch to a battle Mercy, and they'll try playing more offensive and like going for DPS, and they still end up winning the game. So I don't know how much I really feel about that. Reaper's still really, really good. The problem with Reaper, though, is like I don't really see a reason why you'd even really play him. Because Sombra kind of does the same thing that he does, and Sombra is just so broken. So I'm going to probably put Reaper in like A tier. This is probably the lowest I've put Reaper in a long time. It really is. And I think the main reason, too, is a lot of the tanks, you don't really do much versus them. Like, Orisa just shits on you. She has Fortify, like, you can't really do much to her. She knocks you back and stuns you out. Mauga, you're not going to do shit to him. Even though you have your own lifesteal, like, he can out-heal you, and he has, like, 4 times the health bar, and he has, like, 2 million other cooldowns he can throw into you, and you kill you, like, 20 times over before you're able to even get, like, half his health bar deleted. And, like, a lot of the supports in the game, like, a lot of supports you do go after, like, they're able to brawl you so well. You die of Kiriko, she either runs away through a wall to her teammates, or she tries to headshot you, and she headshots you once, she usually wins a 1v1 versus you. Honest nades and then sleeps you, and then you're screwed, and you pretty much guaranteed dead at that point. Baptiste, what does Baptiste do? Oh, he just sits there and he brawls you, he does more damage than you do, and he just can sit there and heal himself over and over and never die, because he has so much healing and so many abilities to throw at himself. And then Life Weaver can just run away, or just throw an ult on himself and then win that way. I don't know, I feel like Reaper's kind of fallen off. Like, I still think he's still pretty good in some of the other tanks, and some of the other DPS in the game, but I feel like he's just fallen off with a lot of the higher tier stuff currently being played that's just incredibly good. And there's just better options, at least DPS-wise, that kind of do the same job as him. Ramatra got buffed, he's back to being crazy good. Going to SS tier. Crazy damage, and they buffed his staff, so his staff just does more damage now at like close to medium range. Even like longer range is a lot more consistent. You just charge your ult even faster now with how much damage it does. Don't know why they needed to buff Ramatra. Have no idea why. I think the only thing that's holding them back is like somebody, like if the enemy team's getting screwed, they all they have to do is just really switch to Orisa and they get screwed, and you get screwed back. So, or Mauga. Mauga kind of destroys you too because you can't really do much unless you have your shield, and your shield doesn't last forever. Break got a bit of a nerf. I'm gonna put Break still at an A+ tier or an A tier. I still think she's average, but she requires you to like brawl alongside your team to kind of make her work. And if your team doesn't want to really play with you, then you can't really do as much. Ryan's garbage. I'm putting Ryan in D tier. Just like last time. I think I had Ryan in like F tier, or like D tier last time, and the last tier as well, which if you guys missed it, go check it out. I'll have a link to that in the video. I don't know. The Ryan just doesn't do anything. The problem with Ryan is he just got power crept out of the game. Like, what reason is there to pick Ryan over like any of these other tanks that we currently have on this list? Like, you do nothing to Mauga. Orisa just shits all over you. Like, she out-damages you, just deletes your shield, and then she just keeps knocking you back with stuns. You can't knock her back with a pin because she has Fortify. Every time you try to swing on her, she fortifies and she damages the shit out of you. Even like Doom just runs away from you, and then every time he gets low, he goes into an ult and he runs away, and now he can actually heal in the air. So if he can get back to pretty much full health, and then he can brawl you again, and then at that point, if you don't get any heals, he wins that anyways, so... Same with like a Ramatra. Ramatra can punch through your shield and just run you down. I just don't see what he really does. Like, I think he just got power crept out of the game at this point. Ryan needs some major buffs. I wouldn't say he's F tier, like, useless, but man, is he fucking dog shit. He just doesn't do anything. He is awful. Which is really unfortunate because he's really fun to play if you can somehow make him work, but it's really rare where you're actually making him work nowadays because he just gets shit on by everything. Bastion's still really, really good. Going to S tier. Still one of the best DPS in the entire game. Genji's going to A tier. Solid, still really solid. I'm not going to talk about him very much. Wrecking Ball's going to D tier. I'm not going to talk about Wrecking Ball very much because we actually got earlier today, we got confirmed that he's going to be getting reworked for Season 12. So they're going to be reworking him in some way. He's going to be the next hero that's going to be getting reworked. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about him very much because I just don't really care, nor do I play Wrecking Ball, so... Alari's fallen off a little bit. I think out of all the supports, I think the one that's fallen off the most is Alari. I think the main reason why, though, is just because there's so many other better supports. Like, Kiriko, Ana, Baptiste, and Lively were just so good now, to where they nerfed Alari's turret and a few things about Alari, to the point where there's just no reason to really play her over the other 4 supports. Don't get me wrong, she's still incredibly good, though. Like, she has incredible damage for a support. The healing totem's still really annoying. She has really solid survivability. Her ult's crazy good yet, but I think she's just outshadowed by the 4 other, like, support kings right now that are just dominating the game. I think once they get nerfed, maybe you'll see Alari being played a little bit more, but she has fallen off a little bit. McCree's garbage, C tier. I don't know why they keep nerfing McCree. I think McCree needs some solid buffs. His magnetic grenade is just garbage. I think the problem with his grenade is just... Either they took his magnetic grenade, they got rid of that, and they made it so it hinders, and then they increased the cooldown. And it's really difficult to land, especially with a lot of like flanky, fast-moving shit that's being played right now, like Tracer Sombra, and some of the other tanks that you can throw it at him and it just doesn't really do anything, so... And I feel like with his ult too, like his ult just doesn't really do much. You're lucky to maybe get 1 or 2 kills with a Deadeye. I don't know, I don't think he's that good right now. Gets dove way too easily, and I feel like his damage numbers just aren't on par with a lot of the other heroes right now. Or that are just easier to play or just do way more than he does. I got Zen. I'll put Zen in A tier. The reason why you're going to be playing Zen is just mainly for the damage orb. If your team can capitalize off the damage orb, then you're just going to run through teams. His healing is not the greatest apart from his ult, though, so if you're picking Zen for his heals, you're better off picking the 4 other supports in S tier. Hog is still really bad. This is coming from somebody that is a level 28. 28 on the progression for Hog. I am almost level 30 prestige for Hog on hero progression. The main thing I play as Hog, and especially after the rework, there is nothing that has changed with him at all. If you're a god at him, like, you can make him work. Like, I'm like an absolute god at Hog. That's why I can make him work most of the times. But, like, if somebody switches to Orisa, like, if you're playing Hog, and even me, like, when I'm playing Hog and the enemy team gets screwed, they're just getting absolutely bent over and fucked, and then they just go and pick Orisa and they automatically win the game because I don't want to switch off, there's a huge problem, and that's mainly a problem with the balance, but Hog's just garbage. I think he needs some major buffs. The main thing is I feel like his damage is really bad. His damage just isn't really on par with a lot of the other tanks. I really don't think. Especially his medium to long range. He just doesn't do anything at medium to long range anymore like he did before, and that's the main problem with him. He's only strictly a close range tank now, which really hinders him from actually doing a lot of stuff. Because before, with the alternate fire, you're actually able to hit stuff longer, like medium to long range away. Especially if you were able to land headshots, you do a lot more damage. You can't really do that anymore. Symmetra is going to be tier, not going to talk about her very much because nothing's really changed with her. Zarya is still really good. I think she's still really good. But she's more of a counter tank pick if somebody's playing Orisa or like Ryan or Ramatra or some of the other tanks that are kind of weak to beam damage, or like a Diva. Speaking of Diva, I may as well rank her in the S tier as well. Only reason she's not in SS tier is because there's so many other tanks that kind of shit on her right now. I think when some of these other tanks start getting nerfed, especially like Mauga just shits all over her. She can't do shit to Mauga. Or like Orisa. Then she may go back up to being SS tier, but still really good. It just depends on what the enemy team's playing. Ashe A tier, not really much has changed from since last season. Soldier going to S tier, really good. One of the better hit scans in the game, really good. Tracer got buffed. I think she's back to being really solid. If you're just like in like your lower to middle tier games, if you're like an average Tracer player, you can make her work because now she actually has her damage numbers back to make it a lot more consistent. So even if you're like an average tier player, I think in like your lower to mid tier games, you can kind of, if you at least know what you're doing, you should be able to at least do stuff. Like if you're an absolute god, yeah, you can carry a lobby, but just for like your average Tracer player, I think she's a lot better, so that's kind of why I put her in A tier. Some people are going to argue with that, but I'm just taking into consideration for like your lower to mid tiers for like your average player, not like a god tier Tracer player. Widow's a really hard one to do because I don't think she's ever going to get reworked because we already got confirmed that the next rework's going to be Ball in like 3 seasons, so by the time Widow gets reworked, it probably won't be till like season 25. If then, even ever. She's a really hit or miss one. If you're like a god tier Widow, like you can completely carry a lobby, but if you don't know what you're doing, or if the enemy team picks Sombra and makes your life a living hell, then you just don't do anything. So I don't even know where to put her on this list. Like I'll put her in A tier, like similar to Tracer, kind of in the same boat, but that's kind of where I would put her right now. If you're god tier, you can carry games, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can't land shots, you don't know how to land headshots, or the enemy team switches to Sombra, then you're just useless. Hanzo's still really good, S tier. Still has the ability to pretty much one-tap somebody from like medium to long range. I don't know why that's even in the game. It's so dumb. So stupid. Sombra going to SS tier. Sombra, I think out of the DPS, I talked about some of the more like AIDS cancerous supports and tanks that are currently in the game. I think the most AIDS cancerous DPS in the game, at least for DPS heroes, is Sombra. She takes no skill to play. All you do is just head into the enemy team's backline, you find somebody on the enemy team to hack over and over and over again, and you just keep killing them over and over. That is all you do. That is pretty much what Sombra does now, y'all. You sit in the enemy team's backline and you wait for them to try to turn on you, and if they turn on you, you just run away and wait till they don't look at you, and then when they're busy fighting the rest of your team, then you pop up in the backline, you kill one of their supports or one of their DPS, and you just keep killing the same person over and over until you either force them to switch or the enemy team loses the game. Broken. And the funny thing is, they actually buffed her ult, so now it has a longer lockout time on her ult as well, which is really fun. That's real fun to play with Blizzard. Last I checked, you weren't supposed to be giving the DPS heroes any CC. That was a thing in Overwatch 1 that you didn't want to bring to Overwatch 2, but it feels like we're going backwards. I mean, at this point, just bring back 6v6. I don't understand why we saw 5v5. Winston got buffed, but I don't think you're going to really be seeing him that much. And the main reason why is, like, especially like your lower to mid tier games, Why would you ever play Winston when you can just pick like Orisa or even like a Mauga or some of these other high tier tanks when they're just way easier to play and you just get so much more value out of them? Winston, you gotta know when to dive on somebody, like you gotta know when to throw down your shield and that type of thing. If you don't know your cooldowns, you don't know when to get in and out, you just die instantly and don't do anything. Or know when to dive on something and when not to. And like, why would you do that when you just play Orisa and pretty much win like 90% of your games? I don't understand why. I really don't. Even with the buffs. Maybe in higher tiers you'll see him, but like your lower to mid tiers, he's still gonna be the same. Sigma got a bit of a nerf. I'm gonna put him in S tier. And the only reason I'm putting him in S tier is because Ramatra got buffed. And Mauga and a few of the other tanks just absolutely destroy him. Same with Doomfist getting buffed. Which I kind of said last year as well. Like, once some of the other tanks, either when a new tank gets added or some of the other tanks, if they get buffed, that'll be the only time Sigma actually drops like a tier, and that's kind of what happened. Junker Queen is probably the most average tank in the game, even after a buff. If you guys know what they did, they actually reduced the spread on her shotgun by 8%. So you do a little bit more consistent damage, but it's not really enough where you even really notice. So I wouldn't really consider it that much of a buff. I think she's the most average tank in the entire game, is Junker Queen. Nothing crazy about her, but nothing really bad. She's just there. She's just there in the average tier, which I think is good, because I think all the tanks should be around A tier, and how like all the tanks are either S tier and above is a huge problem. And I think that's the main problem, is because of the support's also really good, but come on now, Blizzard. Lucio, A tier. You're going to see Lucio a lot more just because he pairs really well with Mauga and some of the other slower tanks like Orisa and stuff. But if you're picking Lucio for the heals, you're never going to get any. So don't pick Lucio if you want an actual healer, because you're going to be not getting any heals the entire game. Then you're going to wonder why you're losing. You're like, oh, I have a Lucio on my team that doesn't heal me the entire game. Well, then we're down to support. No wonder we're losing. Echo I'll put in A tier, and then I'll throw Pharah into H. I feel like they're kind of the same right now. I feel like they're kind of the same. They're a little bit better just because Soldier got nerfed a little bit. He's not able to heal himself as much, but even at the same time, it's not really enough of a nerf to where I don't think it really bumps them up any higher. They're kind of just the same as Season 7, unfortunately. So there you go. There you have it, everybody. That is the Season 8 ranked tier list, lower to mid tier ranked solo queue tier list. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the balance for the game is probably the worst it's ever been. And being that this season just absolutely feels like a filler season too. Like, I don't know what we're going to be getting going into Season 9, but I feel like they just... Every season, like, I feel like the balance changes are just like, pretty much... They pull, like, names out of a hat or something, and like, okay, here's Sombra, what are we going to buff about Sombra? And then they go pull another ability out of a hat. Oh, EMP, let's buff EMP. And then they go and buff EMP, for example, or that type of shit, because... Man, I don't know. When you have this, you have more than half of your hero roster in S tier, or even like SS tier and above. There is a major problem balance-wise with your game. And I just don't think they care, because I think the main reason they don't even really care is just because they want to make money. I think with Blizzard, I think going from Overwatch to Overwatch 2, they no longer care about the balance. The only thing they care about is selling battle passes and selling skins. So the heroes that are going to be selling the most skins and the ones that are going to be selling battle passes are the ones that are always going to be getting buffed and never going to be seeing any type of nerfs. And those are the only ones that they're actually going to care about. Even though they're the ones that, usually the ones that cause problems for the game, or the ones that have high play rates. Or the ones that they only care about. Because I know Orisa has a really high play rate because she's so brain dead. There's a few other ones too that have really high play rates, like Diva has a really high play rate, Mercy of course she does. Why do you think Mercy is getting 3 skins in every single event for Season 8? She's getting a skin for the winter event, she's getting a skin for the Lunar New Year event in January, and then she's supposed to be getting another skin afterwards. Why do you think she's getting 3 skins when there are new heroes in the game like Sojourn and a few other ones that have barely gotten any skins throughout the entirety of Overwatch 2? I don't even think Hog... I think only Hog's got 1 shop skin. I think he's only got 1 shop skin that was actually decent. I don't even think Hog's gotten that many skins. Same with, like, Ryan. I don't even remember the last Reinhardt skin we got. I don't know. Even, like, some of the other ones. Like, where's McCree? Like, what? When was the last time McCree got a skin? I don't even know. I don't even think he's gotten a skin, like an actual good skin for Overwatch 2. I think there was maybe one when the game went live. I think there was like a purple and brown skin that he got, but that was like a launch bundle skin. I don't know if that really counts. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you guys agree with me? If there's something I forgot to mention, let me know. I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with me, but the majority of those people don't watch the entire video, or they're like high tier players, or they don't want to actually like take the truth into consideration, like with how they're balancing the game and how awful the balance is. Either they don't play the game nearly enough, they don't play ranked, and they only play casuals, or they just go based off of what the large streamers and the devs tell them, and they don't believe anything else. So I don't know. Gotta think for yourselves, y'all. I don't know. Gotta have your own brain. Can't listen to what everybody else says. Or play stuff for yourself. I guess you gotta play it yourself. Apart from that, hopefully you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, share the video. These videos do well. Keep on bringing them your guys' way every single season. Apart from that, I'm gonna get out of here. I also do stream over here on the channel. I stream Overwatch 2, Apex Legends, a bunch of other stuff, usually Friday and Saturday nights over here. And I also stream on Sunday nights over on Twitch, link in the description down below. If you guys do not want to miss that, subscribe. Apart from that, I'm gonna get out of here. Peace out, everybody.